I feel like I'm angry at everybody in my family. I don't like my family. If they weren't my family, they wouldn't be my friends.
So what would it look like for you if it were different? If you didn't have that responsibility and if they weren't leaning on you, what would your life look like? What would you be doing?
Well, I would have soared higher.
You think so?
Absolutely.
No, the burden on you is the one that made it out. But you gotta be willing to let them fly.
I feel like I do. I feel like they don't let me. Felt 13 or 14. My mom, she had a really bad accident. She fell. Her back was really messed up, so she was in the hospital a long time. And so I was a surrogate parent for a moment.
Where was Dad?
Working, had to make a living, had 6 kids.
Welcome back to Juicy Pulse, your daily dose of scandal and glamour. Let's spill the tea on today's biggest celebrity stories. Toni Braxton didn't just hold the mic, she held down the whole dang empire. And now, she's finally speaking out about what everyone's been whispering for years. Toni was the bag, the backbone, and the silent soldier. Since she was young, she had to hustle hard, sing, perform, put food on the table, while her family sat back, front row, living sweet off her shine. They soaked up all the perks without lifting a finger. And now, Toni's done being the nice one. Behind all that Braxton family values glitz was pure chaos, hidden drama, jealousy, and a house full of freeloaders acting like she owed them forever. Her own sisters, Trina and Tawanda, crossed the line, big time. Toni says they stole from her, not just her money, but her peace, her trust, her sanity. While fans gushed over their so-called sisterhood, Toni was out here drowning in silence, being expected to feed, clothe, shelter, and breathe for the whole crew. And what did she get in return? Shade, guilt, and betrayal. That's a level of heartbreak no amount of money can patch up. And the wildest part? They made her feel like she still wasn't doing enough. Like, what more did they want? Toni's been carrying that weight for too long, and now the truth is cracking through the surface. Popcorn ready? 'Cause we're just getting started. The Braxtons are back on our screens, and whoo, it's already looking messy from the jump. Toni Braxton may have looked flawless on the surface. The voice, the Grammys, the glow-up. But behind those magazine covers and awards, she straight up hated her life. But before we dig too deep into the chaos, let's get one thing straight. Put some serious respect on Miss Toni Braxton's name. Queen status, no debate. While some folks were still crawling or not even born yet, Toni was out here collecting Grammys, topping charts, turning heads on every red carpet, and setting the gold standard for R&B, all while carrying a family that treated her success like it was a shared bank account. Y'all want to call her just an artist? Nah. She's a full-blown legend. 7 Grammys. Over 70 million records sold. That voice? Straight soul. The kind that'll have you crying in the club and catching the spirit in church. And the crazy part? After all that, she barely has much to show for it now. It all traces back to Severn, Maryland. 6 kids, a gospel-singing mama, and a mountain of dreams. Toni was the oldest, and when their mom had a bad accident and ended up in the hospital for a long time, everything flipped. Childhood? Gone. She didn't grow up. She skipped growing up. One day she was a kid, the next, she was a full-time caretaker, feeding mouths, keeping the lights on, making sure her whole crew had a roof over their heads, while their dad was out grinding, trying to keep the lights on and chase a steady paycheck. Toni was the one who really secured the bag. When her career blew up in the 90s, with hits like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, things at home didn't get lighter. They got heavier. Instead of being hyped for her success, her own sisters reportedly started treating her like she was some kind of ATM with legs. Toni recently opened up and admitted that she's been drained for years, not just emotionally, but straight up financially wiped out. She wasn't just carrying the Braxton name, she was carrying the Braxton bills. We're talking car notes, rent, failed business ideas. Toni covered it all. And those wild investments that went nowhere? Yep, she funded those too. Even though she's never dropped the full receipts, Toni made it crystal clear. They bled her dry and then asked for more. Now look, she ain't always naming names out loud, but the message is loud and clear. Trina and Tawanda definitely high up on that list. Toni's been the safety net, the bailout plan, and the backbone. And now, she's tired of being the family's financial lifeline. Toni said it wasn't just the emotional weight that broke her down. It was the audacity. Her own family wanted to get paid just to work with her. Can you believe that? Meanwhile, Tamar, chaotic as she can be, was out here covering bills without ever asking for a dime. Now that's real loyalty. Toni even spilled that whenever it came time to hit the stage, Tamar was singing backup for free. No complaints, no invoices, just love. But Trina? She was out here trying to cash in like it was a 9-to-5. Now, to be fair, Tawanda was working as Toni's executive assistant, so she had an actual role and got paid. But even then, Toni says Tawanda never once stepped in to help when it really counted. And when Toni brought up their mom, her words hit different. I could have soared higher if I didn't have to carry so much. That one sentence? Whew, it says everything. But listen, this Braxton family drama is just getting warmed up. What started as one sister's quiet heartbreak is now ready to blow the lid off a vault of deep Braxton secrets, lies, tension, and the drama Tamar already saw coming years ago. And let's be real, when it rains on Toni Braxton, it doesn't drizzle, it pours. And no, this wasn't some cute little family disagreement. This was straight up chaos. Emotional, financial, and physical breakdowns all rolled into one. By this point, Toni Braxton was a full-blown pop icon, fighting tooth and nail to keep her spot in a savage, cutthroat industry. But behind the scenes, she was a woman under pressure, holding up a whole family while barely keeping herself from falling apart. When I say people played in her face during her lowest moments, that's not just disrespect, that's next-level betrayal. You'd think that selling over $170 million worth of records would have meant she was set for life, right? Nah, hold up. 'Cause you're not ready for the wild ride Toni was trapped in. Turns out Toni was out here making literal pennies per album, just 35 cents. 35 cents. While the world saw her as the queen of R&B, her own wallet was screaming for help. She was feeding an entire record label, keeping execs rich, while she could barely hold on to her own coin. Can you imagine being the face of success, but going home broke? And when Toni finally hit her breaking point and took her label to court in '98, guess what happened? 8 weeks later, she was forced to file for bankruptcy. And no, it wasn't from wild spending or bad habits. It was that crooked contract. She had to pay the label back for everything. Travel, studio time, clothes, even her own music videos. Toni wasn't just scammed, she was bled dry while the world clapped for her success. Toni was out here financing her own fame, paying every bill just to stay in the spotlight, and still ending up with nothing in return. But the world didn't really see how bad it was until that now infamous interview with Oprah. What should have been a moment of support turned into a full-blown disaster on national TV. You'd think a queen like Oprah would show some love to another queen in crisis, right? Wrong. Instead of empathy, Toni got hit with one of the coldest and most condescending moments of her career. Oprah sat her down and basically hit her with that shady, "If you're so famous, why are you broke?" energy. No compassion, just humiliation. Toni came in hoping for understanding. What she got? A straight-up public takedown. And let me tell you, the backlash from that interview was brutal. People turned on her. Fans judged her. And to make it worse, word on the street is Oprah even tipped off Toni's label ahead of the interview, warned them that she might air out the dirty laundry. Like, who does that? It felt like Oprah was more loyal to the execs than to the woman sitting right across from her. And that interview? It wasn't just a bad look. It was a full-on career setback. Still, Toni tried to pick up the pieces. But in 2010, life hit her again. She was diagnosed with microvascular angina and lupus, forcing her to cancel her big-money Las Vegas residency. Just when she started to climb back, her body gave out. At this point, it felt like the devil had a full-time job in Toni Braxton's life. Because just when you thought things couldn't get worse, they did. When she had to cancel her Las Vegas residency due to her health, guess what? Her insurance didn't cover a thing, so who had to pay for everything? Yep, Toni. We're talking full production costs, lighting, stage crew, musicians, hotels, salaries. The whole operation came straight out of her own pocket. All gone. And just like that, boom, Toni had to file for bankruptcy again. Her second time. It was brutal. But wait, the hits kept coming. In 2010, as if life hadn't done enough damage, both the IRS and the California Franchise Tax Board pulled up like uninvited guests, demanding their cut. They weren't playing either. They came in swinging for her bank account. According to court docs that surfaced on a gossip site, the IRS filed a tax lien against Toni right before New Year's. On December 4th, they claimed she owed $340,252.99 in back taxes from 2007. But the drama didn't stop there. Just days later, the state of California Franchise Tax Board jumped in too, slapping her with another lien for $116,154.64. That brought her total tax debt to a jaw-dropping $456,407.63. Both agencies warned her loud and clear, pay up or we're coming for your property. Seriously, how does a woman who sold millions of records, who gave the world iconic hits, end up like this? Toni Braxton, still touring, still iconic, still flawless, yet somehow still drowning in debt time and time again. And insiders say it wasn't just the record labels or her health battles. Nah, Toni was also carrying her entire family on her shoulders. Bills, responsibilities, emotional support, all of it fell on her. And the same money drama that's haunted them for years? It came blazing to the surface when the cameras started rolling for their reality show. Turns out, once the paychecks hit, tension exploded. Toni and Tamar were reportedly getting paid way more than the rest, and their sisters did not take that lightly. Word is, it got so heated behind the scenes that production had to hit pause on filming altogether. Toni allegedly stormed off and said she was done with the whole thing. And honestly, who could blame her? After everything she's faced, fame, illness, financial exploitation, family pressure, public shame, it's like every win came with a new wound. And yeah, Toni Braxton is still standing. But the real question is, at what cost and in what condition? Now let's zoom in on this sister feud, because it's giving more drama than daytime TV. We're talking grown adults, full voting age women in their late 40s and 50s, beefing over reality show coins like it's high school lunch money. Like, really? The jealousy, the tension, the back and forth, it's deep. Forget the money. These Braxton sisters straight up can't stand each other. How they even managed to film that reality show without throwing hands is honestly something science needs to study. But lately, the drama inside the Braxton household has gotten way too real. We're talking full-on chaos, blocking each other, cutting ties, and letting years of tension spill out. And now, Toni Braxton's officially tapped out. Let's rewind a bit. Before Tracy passed, Toni said they all made a promise to keep the peace in her honor. But guess what? Nobody's kept that promise. If anything, things are messier than ever. Word is, Toni's done. Emotionally checked out and completely over the constant chaos. And here's where it gets wild. None of her sisters showed up to support Tamar at the premiere of her cooking show. Not a single one. Why? Sources say a major fight broke out just 2 days before the event. And it was ugly. Right after that, Tawanda jumped online and started throwing some serious subs, posting stuff like, "To everyone who distanced themselves from me, kindly stay there." Yikes. And let's be clear, it didn't stop there. The family tension is eating them alive, and even Toni, the glue that held it all together, is finally saying, enough is enough. So Towanda finally tied the knot with her longtime man, Sean Hall, after 9 years together. And while Toni and Trina showed up as bridesmaids, Tamar, nowhere to be seen. Yeah. Lines are being drawn, and it's clear some sisters are picking sides now. The tension? It's been brewing for a long time, especially since their reality show aired. During one awkward moment, someone asked Towanda how she felt about not having access to Tamar. And Tamar immediately clapped back, saying Towanda just doesn't care about her. She even added that she's always the one reaching out first, and that Towanda only checks in when the cameras are rolling. Towanda, never one to hold back, fired back with her own cold shot. She said, and I quote, "I don't pour into certain vibes anymore." Translation? She's done giving Tamar that sisterly pass. Towanda made it real clear. She's only focused on her house now, her kids, her peace, and her man. Period. And honestly, it's giving calculated. For years, Towanda had that calm, cool image, like the level-headed sister. But now it's looking like she's been playing the long game all along. Insiders even say she leaned hard on Toni during her divorce, emotionally and financially. So don't let the quiet fool you. There's history there, and it's messy. Now look, supporting your sister when she's down? That's normal. But the way Toni's moving lately, it's clear she's feeling more used than supported. Her whole vibe is giving, "I held you down when you had nothing, but where were you when I needed somebody?" And fans online? They're going off. The internet is split. Some folks are saying Towanda's always had a problem with Tamar, and others are claiming it's straight-up jealousy over Tamar's success. But let's be real. This isn't just two sisters throwing shade. This mess is shaking up the whole family. Even Toni, the one who's been the glue for years, is finally pulling back. She's done the work, paid the bills, showed up time and time again, and now the emotional weight is catching up. People are even saying all this stress might have made her health conditions worse. The fans are heartbroken. One said, "We didn't want the Braxtons to return just to watch them fight every episode. We wanted to see the love." Another wrote, "Sometimes you just need a long break from your family," and they definitely sound like they do. Then there was one that really hit home. Toni is owed so much, in so many ways. But the comment that really cut deep? It always starts with the parents, especially the mom. Whew, that part right there? That's where the roots of all this pain might really be hiding. Someone's got to hold some accountability. But before we go forward, let's rewind for a sec and talk about Tracy. Because she was the real heartbreak in this whole Braxton saga. Tracy Braxton passed in 2022, but the pain she carried didn't start there. It was a lifetime of wounds, and most of them came from inside the family. Let's not forget, Tracy was cut out of the early music deals just because she got pregnant. That right there? That pain ran deep. And even though she put on a smile, you could always feel it, like she never fully healed from that betrayal. That moment shaped her entire journey. And yeah, it created a quiet tension between her and Toni. Not just the typical sister drama, but real emotional distance. The kind built from hurt that was never truly addressed. Of course, there was love between them. Nobody's denying that. But it was the kind of love that had been dropped, bruised, and patched up too many times to feel whole. Now that Tracy's gone, all that unspoken pain just lingers, like a ghost hovering over the family. And when Toni talks about feeling completely dried up, yeah, part of it's the money and the pressure. But a big part of it is the emotional weight, the exhaustion, the guilt, the grief, the regret. Because when you lose someone who carried that much silence, the words they never got to say hurt just as much as the ones they did. This whole Braxton family values thing, it started off feeling like a win. The fans were hyped, the brand was poppin', and for a moment, It looked like the sisters were finally getting their shine. But behind the scenes, it was tearing them apart. Imagine already having tension in your family, and now there's a camera crew in your face, ready to blast your deepest issues to millions of viewers. That's not therapy. That's a pressure cooker. And Toni, she said it straight. I don't want to be the strong one anymore. That one line had people in tears. So many big sisters, oldest daughters, and ride-or-die women felt seen in that moment. That wasn't just a quote, it was a cry for help. Tamar, to her credit, seems ready to start the healing journey. But Tawanda's silence? Loud. And with Tracy gone, Toni's probably realizing more than ever that time doesn't wait on anybody. This ain't just celeb drama. It's not about clout or views. This is about a woman who gave her love, her money, her soul, and finally had to say, I'm done. But hold on, it's not over. In fact, the plot just thickened big time. Word on the street? Tamar's throwing the ultimate Braxton curveball for the next season. She's bringing in their niece, Ashley Braxton. Yup, Ashley's stepping into the mix. And trust, this is about to make things way messier. This move right here, it's sending shockwaves behind the scenes. And let me break it down. Because Ashley ain't just some random niece showing up for screen time. She's the same one who dropped a bombshell that shook the entire Braxton family to its core. Years ago, when Ashley was just 16, she came forward with a disturbing claim. She said Trina's then-husband, Gabe, had started messaging her inappropriately. This wasn't harmless chatting. Ashley described the messages as straight-up predatory, and she didn't stay quiet. She told her parents, like she was supposed to, and they told Trina. At first, Trina showed love. She apologized, stood by Ashley, and seemed to believe her. But as time passed, that support disappeared. It turned into awkward silence, then shade, then full-on blame. Trina allegedly started telling folks that Ashley was old enough to know better, and rumors swirled that she even believed something physical happened and blamed Ashley for it. Let that sink in. A teenage girl says a grown man crossed the line with her, and she ends up being villainized by her own blood. Trina cut her off. No calls, no conversations, nothing. And Ashley? She's been carrying that pain in silence for years. Now fast forward to this wild new chapter. Tamar, who's had her fair share of drama with pretty much every sister, decides to bring Ashley onto the show. And not just for a quick guest spot. Ashley's reportedly got a real role this season. Tamar says it's about showing support, about giving Ashley a voice that was stolen from her. Tamar said she brought Ashley in because she wanted her to feel seen, to know that someone in the family still had her back. But come on now. We know how this family moves. Nothing in the Braxton world is ever just surface level. It's all layers, tension, and years of unspoken hurt. The sisters were already beefing so bad that production had to shut down. And now that Ashley's stepping into the spotlight, everything's bubbling over. Behind the scenes, people are whispering that Tamar brought her on just to stir the pot, to throw gas on a fire that was already burning. But Tamar's standing firm. She says it's not about drama, it's about truth. She wanted Ashley to know she's not alone, that not everyone in the family turned their back when things got dark. Still, let's keep it real. Bringing Ashley onto the show isn't just about a niece joining the cast. It's about reopening deep wounds. It's about calling out years of silence, blaming and pretending everything's fine when it never was. It's about someone finally saying, I'm not staying quiet anymore. So is this the start of healing? Or the spark that splits the family for good? Either way, it's about to get real. Real talk? This might be the realest, and maybe even the last season of Braxton Family Values. And if there's one thing this entire journey has shown us, it's this. Even the strongest ones, the ones holding everybody else together, need someone to check on them too. Because when the cameras shut off and the spotlight fades, all that's left is the truth. And for Toni Braxton, that truth has been heavy. She's been carrying it for way too long, and the weight is finally showing. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.